Give me 17 minutes and you'll have control over your reality. Shift your mindset now. What if your thoughts were not the truth, but just habits? In this video, we explore the hidden filters that shape your perception and the powerful techniques that allow you to break free from mental loops. Most people believe they see reality clearly. Yet their minds quietly distort it every second. You'll learn why change feels uncomfortable, how your brain resists growth, and the step-by-step ways to reprogram your thinking. Through deep psychological insight and real human stories, we guide you to see your inner world with more clarity, compassion, and control. This isn't just about healing. It's about awakening. Stay with us until the end to discover how your brain can become your ally in transformation, not your cage. Your brain is deceiving you. Right now, your brain is not showing you reality as it is. It is showing you a version it has carefully filtered, shaped, and edited based on past experiences, hidden fears, and beliefs you never consciously chose. What you see, feel, and think feels true only because you have never questioned the lens through which you experience it. From the moment you were born, your mind began building a model of the world. Layer by layer. Parents, teachers, media, culture, and personal wounds added their colors to this internal map. Over time, you stopped noticing the map and started mistaking it for the territory. That is the deception. You think you are responding to life as it is, but in reality, you are responding to how your mind interprets life. That is why two people can go through the same event and walk away with entirely different memories. Your thoughts are not facts. Your emotions are not always signals of truth. They are shaped by the filters your brain built to keep you safe, to keep you stable, to help you survive. But survival is not the same as clarity, peace, or freedom. And if you never question these filters, they silently control your actions, reactions, and relationships. This unconscious editing affects how you see others too. You may judge someone harshly, not because of who they are, but because of how your brain has been trained to perceive threat or rejection. Misunderstandings, distance, and emotional pain often come not from what people do, but from how we interpret what they do. Healing starts when you realize this. When you begin to look beyond your immediate reactions. When you admit that your version of reality might not be the whole truth. Only then can you begin the deeper work of seeing clearly, loving fully, and living with purpose. How your brain shapes your world. You do not see the world as it is. You see the world as your brain believes it to be. Every moment, your brain takes in vast amounts of information and reduces it into something manageable. It filters, distorts, and edits your reality based on what it has learned to focus on. This means that your experience of life is not objective. It is deeply personal, built through years of memories, emotions, traumas, cultural narratives, and silent conditioning. Your brain creates a map, not of the world itself, but of the world as it has taught itself to see. This map influences your every decision. If you grew up in an environment where love was unpredictable, your brain may see closeness as a threat. If you were praised only for achievement, your brain may tie your worth to constant success. These associations are not conscious, but they guide your reactions in subtle and powerful ways. You are not reacting to what is in front of you. You are reacting to what your brain expects to find. You are living inside a story written long ago. This becomes more complex when you realize everyone else is doing the same. Every person you meet is also living inside their own map of the world. Their behaviors, their beliefs, even their pain are shaped by patterns you cannot see. When you understand this, judgment softens. Compassion grows. You no longer assume someone's actions define who they are. You start to see that their lens may be different from yours. Not wrong, just shaped by a different past. Understanding that perception is filtered gives you freedom. You are no longer trapped in one fixed interpretation. You can learn to see more. You can train your brain to look for truth beyond its bits. And in doing so, you do not just understand yourself better. You understand others. You begin to see the world not as a fixed reality, but as a layered experience shaped by perception, choice, and the deep desire to connect. The key to controlling perception. Your brain cannot focus on everything. There is simply too much information. So it uses a system to decide what gets noticed and what gets ignored. This system is called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It is a small network of neurons in your brainstem. But its impact is enormous. The RAS is like a mental gatekeeper. It filters your reality and allows only certain information to reach your conscious mind, without you realizing it. This tiny structure decides what seems important and what fades into the background. You have already experienced this without knowing its name. When you think about buying a certain car, you suddenly see it everywhere. When you feel insecure, you notice every sign of rejection. This is not a coincidence. Your RAS is highlighting what matches your internal focus. It responds to your beliefs, your expectations, and even your fears. The more you focus on something, the more the RAS tunes your attention to find it. If you believe life is hard, your brain will show you proof. If you believe people cannot be trusted, your brain will filter the world accordingly. This means your experience of reality is not just shaped by what happens. It is shaped by what your brain lets in. And what your brain lets in is shaped by what you believe. This is powerful because it means you can influence what you perceive. You can train your RAS to focus on opportunity instead of limitation. You can shift it from fear to clarity. But it starts with awareness. You must become conscious of your mental filters and question them. You must ask yourself whether what you focus on is helping you or hurting you. Controlling perception is not about forcing yourself to be positive. It is about choosing where to place your attention and why. Your focus directs your energy, your mood, and ultimately your actions. When you guide your RAS intentionally, you begin to create a reality that reflects not just your past, but your deeper potential. When you shift from passive to active, most people live as if life is happening to them. They wait for the world to change before they do. They believe peace, clarity, or purpose will come once the outside world becomes easier. But this way of thinking keeps them trapped. They respond to events rather than shape them. They forget that their mind is not just receiving reality. It is creating it. This is where the shift begins. You stop asking what life will give you. You begin asking what you will bring to life. This transformation starts with awareness. You begin to notice your reactions. You pause before repeating the same emotional pattern. You recognize when you are falling into fear or self-doubt. Moments are small but powerful. They create space between stimulus and response. And in that space, something new is possible. You realize that your thoughts do not control you. You can choose which ones to follow and which ones to let go. Taking an active role in your life does not mean forcing change. It means becoming a conscious participant in your own story. It means noticing when you are giving your power away and choosing to take it back. The way you interpret your experiences is more powerful than the experiences themselves. When you see this clearly, you stop waiting. You start building. Living actively does not remove pain or struggle. It teaches you how to meet them with strength and presence. It reminds you that within every challenge is a choice. You cannot control everything that happens. But you can always choose how to respond. That choice is where your true power begins. Psychological methods to master your thoughts. Your mind is constantly active. Thoughts come and go. often without your permission. Some uplift you while others drag you into fear or doubt. Learning to master your thoughts is not about stopping them. It is about learning how to relate to them differently. NTLY. When you see a thought not as truth but as a mental event, you create space between the thought and your identity. That space is where your power begins. One powerful method is to observe your thoughts without reacting. This is often called mindfulness. When a negative thought arises, instead of believing it, you simply notice it. You say to yourself, this is a thought, not a fact. This simple awareness prevents the thought from taking control. Over time you begin to see that many of your thoughts are just patterns. They repeat not because they are true but because they are familiar. Another method is questioning your thoughts. When you catch yourself thinking I am not good enough or nothing ever works out, ask, is this absolutely true? Can I be sure this thought is real? What else? It might also be true. This type of inquiry weakens the grip of limiting beliefs. You stop blindly following thoughts that harm your growth. You start choosing which thoughts to empower. Journaling is also a powerful tool. When you write your thoughts down, they become clearer. You begin to see the stories you are telling yourself. Some are helpful but many are inherited from others. Or built from fear. By putting thoughts on paper you can begin to edit the script you live by. These methods are not about forcing positivity. They are about building awareness. They help you develop a relationship with your inner world that is grounded and clear. Mastering your thoughts does not mean never having a negative one. It means knowing that you have the ability to choose what stays and what passes. That choice is where freedom lives. How to turn change into a lasting habit. Change is not difficult because you lack discipline. It is difficult because your brain is wired for repetition. It prefers the familiar even when it is painful. This is why people return to old patterns even after moments of clarity. The mind resists change not out of malice but out of habit. To make change last you must turn new thoughts and behaviors into familiar ones. You must repeat them enough that the brain begins to recognize them as safe. The key is consistency, not intensity. Small actions done every day are more powerful than grand efforts done once. When you practice a new mindset regularly, your brain builds new neural pathways. At first it feels unnatural. But over time the unfamiliar becomes the norm. This is how lasting change happens, not through force but through steady repetition. One helpful tool is to create rituals. A ritual is a repeated action that carries intention. It might be writing down 3 things you are grateful for every night. It might be pausing for 1 minute. Of breath before starting your day. These actions seem small but they send signals to your brain. They say, this is who I am now. And the brain begins to follow. Another tool is environment. Your surroundings influence your behavior more than you realize. If you want to change your mindset, expose yourself to content that reflects that mindset. Surround yourself with people who live by the values you want to grow. Remove sources of negativity that reinforce your old beliefs. Your brain absorbs what it sees most often. Choose wisely. Lasting change is not about being perfect. It is about being persistent. You will fall back sometimes. That is part of learning. What matters is returning again and again to what you know is true. Return is a rewiring. Each choice strengthens the path. And eventually the path becomes who you are. How your brain reacts when you start changing your perception. Change often begins with excitement. You feel inspired by new insights. You see your patterns clearly and want to break free. But soon, after that clarity comes resistance. You feel tired or distracted. Doubt returns. Old habits call you back. This is not failure. This is your brain trying to protect what is familiar. Your brain prefers predictability. It sees change as risk even when the change is good. The old thoughts and behaviors may have caused suffering, but they are known. They are safe in the eyes of your nervous system. So when you begin thinking differently, your brain sends signals of discomfort. It is like stretching a rubber band. At first there is tension and the urge to snap back. You might question yourself. You might feel emotional heaviness or mental fog. You might find yourself sabotaging your own efforts without knowing why. This is all part of the process. Your brain is not your enemy. It is simply trying to return to the familiar path it has walked for years. That path feels stable even if it is limiting. The key is not to fight the discomfort but to understand it. When resistance shows up, see it as a sign of progress. It means you are touching the edge of your old identity. Instead of turning back, breathe through the resistance. Remind yourself that growth feels unfamiliar because it is unfamiliar, not because it is wrong. Over time your brain will begin to adapt. What once felt unsafe will begin to feel normal. What once triggered fear will lose its power. But only if you continue. The discomfort is temporary. The freedom on the other side is real. Keep going. Your mind is learning a new way of being. How to overcome your brain's resistance for sustainable change. When you start to change your mindset, your brain does not let go easily. It resists by pulling you back into familiar thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. This resistance is not a flaw. It is a survival instinct. Your brain has built strong neural pathways around old habits. These paths are like deep grooves. The more you have used them, the easier it is to fall back into them. To overcome this resistance, you must create new grooves. That means practicing new thoughts and responses again and again. At first the new path feels awkward. It requires effort and attention. But with time, repetition becomes reinforcement. The brain begins to strengthen the new connection. What once felt strange becomes your new normal. One strategy is to act before you fully believe. You may not feel confident yet, but you can take one small action that aligns with confidence. You may still doubt yourself, but you can speak kindly to yourself anyway. Action leads the way. The brain learns by doing. Each time you act in alignment with your new mindset, you teach your brain that this path is safe. Another strategy is immersion. Surround yourself with people, content, and environments that support the mindset you are building. Your brain mirrors what it sees often. When you are immersed in a new way of thinking, it becomes easier to adopt. You are no longer working against your environment. You are working with it. Sustainable change requires patience. The brain resists because it is wired to protect, not because you are weak. The discomfort is not a sign to quit. It is a sign that something important is shifting. Each moment you stay with the new path, you build resilience. And eventually the old patterns lose their grip. You are not just changing your thoughts. You are rewiring your identity. Reprogramming your brain for long-lasting transformation. Lasting transformation is not about a single breakthrough. It is the result of repeated choices made with awareness. Your brain learns through repetition. Every time you think a new thought or take a new action, you reinforce a new pathway. The more you repeat the new pattern, the stronger it becomes. Over time, what once felt unfamiliar becomes automatic. This is how beliefs are formed. Not through one event but through continuous exposure. If you grew up hearing that you are not enough, your brain likely built that into your identity. But the same mechanism that created that belief can create a new one. If you begin to speak to yourself with respect and act with self-worth, the brain will begin to adapt. It will start to mirror the new message you are sending. One way to support this reprogramming is through intention. Set a clear intention each day for how you want to think, feel, and show up. Let this guide your focus. Your brain pays attention to what you emphasize. When you return to your intention repeatedly, your brain starts to see it as real. Another way is through embodiment. Do not wait to feel confident to act confidently. Move, speak and behave like the person you are becoming. Your brain will adjust to match the behavior. It does not need proof before it begins to change. It needs consistency. You are not trying to become someone else. You are returning to the version of yourself that existed before fear and doubt took over. Reprogramming your brain is not about control. It is about Each moment you act in alignment with your deeper truth, you lay down a new path. With time, that path becomes your reality. And your reality begins to reflect who you truly are. Common misconceptions about psychology and the truth behind them. Many people still misunderstand what psychology truly is. They see it as something only for the broken or weak. They believe that emotional struggles should be hidden or solved alone. This belief creates shame around seeking help and prevents many from beginning their healing. But psychology is not about labeling or fixing. It is about understanding. It is the science of how we think, feel and behave. And at its heart it is about becoming more human, not less. One of the biggest misconceptions is that mental health is separate from physical health. In reality, they are deeply connected. Stress, anxiety and unresolved trauma affect the body as much as the mind. Ignoring emotional pain does not make it disappear. It stores in the body, showing up as fatigue, tension or illness. True healing comes when we recognize that the mind and body are not separate systems but part of one whole. Another myth is that needing support means weakness. In truth, recognizing you need support is a sign of strength. It means you are aware of your limits and willing to grow. No one is meant to carry everything alone. We all need space to feel seen, heard and understood. Therapy, self-reflection and inner work are not signs of failure. They are courageous acts of responsibility. Psychology also teaches us how to understand others. When we study human behavior, we become less reactive and more compassionate. We see that everyone is carrying invisible struggles. We stop judging from the surface and start listening with depth. This shift does not just change how we relate to others. It changes how we relate to ourselves. The truth is that psychology is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming real. It invites us to explore our inner world with honesty so we can live with more clarity, meaning and peace. Real-life stories of emotional healing and inner awakening journeys. Some of the most powerful transformations begin in silence. A person sits alone, not knowing what to do next, feeling lost, discontented or numb. They might look fine on the outside, but inside they are carrying invisible pain. This is often where the journey begins. Not with clarity but with confusion. Not with strength but with surrender. One man spent years chasing achievement, thinking it would give him worth. He reached his goals but felt empty. In therapy, he uncovered a belief that he was only lovable when successful. Letting go that belief was not easy. It meant facing fear and grief. But over time he began to build a new relationship with himself based on value, not performance. His healing did not make him perfect. It made him real. A woman who had always put others first realized she had no idea what she needed. She had been praised for being strong, for never asking for help. But that strength was a mask. In her healing process, as she learned to listen to her body, to rest without guilt, to speak her truth even when her voice shook. Her awakening was not loud. It was quiet, steady and deeply personal. These stories are not unique. They are happening every day around the world. People are waking up to themselves not through grand events but through small acts of honesty. Through choosing to feel instead of numb. Through asking for help instead of pretending. Through allowing themselves to be seen as they are. Emotional healing is not a straight line. Inner awakening is not a destination. Both are processes of remembering who you really are. They ask you to be gentle with your pain and brave with your truth. In this space, transformation becomes possible. Not by becoming someone new, but by returning to who you were before the world told you to be someone else.